did a regional analysis of Davidson County about 6 months ago. And part of coming back here, how many, it's kind of hard to see, how many of you all have seen me present before? A few? Okay, so y'all can't yell out the answers, or please don't. So I'm going to talk a little bit about cities. But one of the things, I'm going to put a couple of my lessons up front so you all have your takeaway of what you're about to see. When I look at cities, I tend to think of them like a DNA, that we all have a DNA. I have a DNA. This is how I started life when I had hair, and this is what I'm going to become, right? So there's a path that I'm on to being Papa, whether I like it or not. Or more importantly, I'm looking at this guy. Now, I've got 2 genetic issues. I'm genetically Italian. You can see that from my name. We also have, in my family, a genetic predisposition to not only baldness, but of heart disease. So I have a conflicting problem. I like to eat a lot, but I also have to watch my heart. So I'm constantly thinking about how do I exercise more, what do I eat, and making those choices. You all are handling community decisions for your towns, for your places. You have a DNA. You also have a path that you're on with those choices. So are you consciously thinking about those into the future? You know, who's Nashville going to be when Nashville grows up? What's Franklin going to be when Franklin grows up? What's your path on where you're going to? So I want to put that lesson up front, and I'm going to show you the issues behind that through some models. The second thing I want to do is give you all a quick little test about how do you look at data. So I'm going to give you 5 seconds to count the shapes in this next puzzle. And for those of you that have seen this before, please don't shout out the answers, but just tell me how many shapes you see in this children's puzzle. You have 5 seconds. Ready? Tell me how many shapes. Go. Okay, how many shapes did you all see? You can shout it out. I'm not going to fail you on this. 20? Anybody want to go higher than 20? 35? 49? All right. 29? All right. How many kids were on the school bus? Anyone? What time was it on the clock? You know, what's kind of amazing about data is that it actually can be right in front of you and you just won't even see it. I can manipulate what you see by the questions I asked you. You didn't see that there was 5 kids on the bus. You didn't see that it was 10 after 10 on the clock. You know, that as we make decisions in our communities, sometimes we're looking at the answer that's right in front of us, but asking the wrong question. Does that all make sense? So I'm basically going to show you cities. I'm going to show you data that we've all been sitting on that we're not paying attention to. Now, the biggest question about all of this is I want you to come away with an understanding of the biggest question, which is what is a city? What are you doing? What do you live in? So here's Asheville. You know, we're up here in the mountains. The company that I work with, I'm actually a spin-off of a real estate development company called Public Interest Projects. It's a for-profit real estate development company in downtown. 75% of our money is in fixing buildings, and 25% of our money goes into starting businesses. So what we do is we're trying to figure out how our portfolio works in the city. We have a $13 million portfolio. We're constantly obsessed with how those function as a business, but more importantly, how we function inside the corporation of Asheville, the city of Asheville. So the big lesson for us is bringing the data and making the data relevant for everybody. Why does our work help our community? And so that's what I'm going to bring for you from here forward is the data that's behind all of this. By fixing our downtown, one of the things that we saw is our downtown was worth $100 million back in the 1990s. And I don't know if y'all visited Asheville previous to 1990, but it wasn't all a great place. These first 2 steps were just by fixing buildings that were ready in our downtown. We didn't get a new building until 2008, but this is the portfolio wealth of our community, increasing by $500 million just by fixing up existing buildings. So what it got us to think about is what's this downtown as an asset inside Asheville, but also inside my county? How does this thing function? And when farmers look at real estate, farmers are looking at things on a per acre basis. They're seeing how things are cultivated. What's the crop yield? What's the development or the fertilizer per acre? You can do the same things with cities. So this is one of our buildings. It used to be worth $300,000. We fixed it. The city subsidized us. I'll go ahead and own the subsidy here. They built this sidewalk in front of our building. We put in retail, office, and residential. So with this subsidy of a garbage can, a bike rack, 2 benches, and a street tree, $20,000 worth of investment at our front door, we took it from $300,000 to $11 million of value. What that represents to our community is a 3,500% increase in the taxes paid on that property. Did y'all get that? Does anybody have a 401k plan that grows by 3,000%? So this is our community's benefit that's being raised off our development. And we took it on the chin because people are just like, well, that's great, Joe. That's an $11 million investment. This Walmart over here is worth $20 million, which is huge. It's double our building. Well, that's fine. There's our building. This is my house. This is my wife, Caroline, and our 2 dogs, Bill and Susie. They're a little weird. But Caroline and I live on 1/10 of an acre. We pay $2,000 in taxes. So if you had a 1-acre cookie cutter that dropped into my neighborhood, it's producing $20,000 an acre. Now, Walmart's paying $270,000 in taxes, but it took 34 acres to get there. So if you had that same 1-acre cookie cutter that flew in space and dropped on the Walmart, it's producing $6,500 an acre. Now, our building downtown is producing $634,000 an acre. So if y'all could grow a crop, what would you grow? Right? Now, I was presenting this in Denver. I wanted to drive the point home to people in Denver. And I said to them, look, in Denver, what are you going to grow? It got the point across to them. Now, you're probably saying, Joe, that's property taxes. What about retail taxes? So let's get rid of me and let's run through the numbers. Again, the misnomer in retail sales is that you get that full $77 million nut, but that's actually just the purchases. The actual taxes that come back are a portion of a portion, or in other words, 47 an acre. Total taxes per acre of retail and property taxes is $51,000 an acre. That's just our property taxes. You add the retail taxes, you're cooking with gas, jobs per acre. I mean, how do you want to look at this? When you're looking at the numbers and you break things down on an apples-to-apples basis, the truth becomes obvious. In fact, that's one of the things that we do is just put the data out there for people and let the argument happen. I like to call this the Moneyball of cities. For those of you that haven't read the book Moneyball, go out and watch the movie or read the book. But it's about getting the data and making better decisions. Now, that's just the city side. There's also a county story going on here, too. This is the residential per acre tax yield of different land uses to the county. You see that the city resident is producing more county taxes than county residents. But when you bring the mall into this, you start to see why somebody would go for commercial. Commercial is so much more impactful than residential. Oftentimes, developers will stop you there. What we said is, why stop there? Let's bring downtown into this. Here's our building and the county taxes per acre, and here's the mall at $8,000 an acre. So if you're running a county, it actually makes sense to be more interested in downtown development as well. You can cultivate a higher density of growth. So realize what I'm doing here, this isn't complex stuff. I don't have a CPA. I'm trained as an architect. This is kind of simple math. We're just doing division. But I want to drive home the point about the cash flow that's happening in cities and put the question out to you all of why you're in this. And let's just go ahead and read this bottom line. This is from Webster's Dictionary. Incorporation is the forming of a new corporation. The corporation may be a business, a nonprofit, a sports club, or a government of a new city or town. So it's, in essence, the citizen is a shareholder in 2 corporations, the city and the county, right? So the city is really just a finite boundary of land that's got to function financially, and we have a board of directors that we elect to run that organization. Did y'all get that? So Asheville is worth $10 billion. It's 3 times Donald Trump's portfolio wealth. And I can guarantee you that Donald Trump understands the costs and the revenues that come out of his businesses, and he makes financial decisions. Or more importantly, Asheville is worth more than all of these combined. Do you think the owner of the Titans knows what Jake Locker's towel bill is in the locker room? Of course. They have to know these businesses and how they function. So as you look at your community, think about it financially and the land use decisions, how they affect the community costs. This is what we're going to hear about today for this whole conference. We've done this all across the country. And mashing together everybody, we see this pattern. For every dollar of county taxes paid by a county single-family resident, a city single-family resident is paying about $8 to the county per acre. The Walmart's about $7. The mall's double the Walmart. As soon as you get to a 2-story building, look what happens. Just by adding that second story, you see it's not a proportional growth. This is an exponential growth, and then this is a 6-story building over here at $400 an acre of production. By using the term acre in this, I'm giving you that finite commodity that's all that you can control. And we already do this to get efficiencies, right? We do this with cars. We don't compare cars on a miles per tank basis, do we? That'd be ludicrous, because we know that all cars have different tanks. But if we were to compare these based on tank, we should all be driving Ford F-150s at 650 miles per tank, right? No, we don't do that because gas is a finite commodity, and gas is the relative level of productivity to get you someplace. When I say miles per gallon, the numbers change. We should all be driving BMW Asettas at 70 miles per gallon. Did y'all get this? Do you see what I'm doing? It's just that unit of productivity. And these are the relentless rules of humble arithmetic. If you do the math, you'll see how this stuff works out. So we did a project for Rick in Nashville here. And we thought, well, if you can see the data by using technology, like the way that we do with ourselves, so we'll use the technology of X-rays. That gives you hard tissue, right? Change the computer, change the machine. We can get soft tissue of the same head just by going with an MRI, right? It's information. We can even do crazy stuff with 3D imaging to see what's going on in your brain now. Well, could you do the same thing with cities? So we made a value per acre map for Rick, and this is how it looks. So from low value or exempt in gray, and you see it around the lake here for all the public land, low values in green, high values hot color at over $6 million an acre. And immediately you can start to see downtown in the West End pop up from a value standpoint of productivity for the whole entire county. This is just looking at inside the old city limits, and you can see downtown popping up now too. Now this is putting aside the fact that downtown is almost 50% non-taxable. So even being non-taxable, none of the stuff in gray pays taxes. It's all stuff that the state pays for in the city and the county. But this is where you're getting your tax productivity out of this green stuff. Another way of showing it, there's a mapping technique called cartogramming. This is a map from 1921 where you change the relationship of the parcel based on value. So in this case, this is a map showing energy consumption, and you see New York up here as the big #1 energy consumer. It's also the biggest state by image. Wisconsin's number 10, so it's 1/10 the size. So we did the same thing with the map. We said, let's cartogram this so you can really see what downtown feels like at a county level. This is its financial impact. So as a unit of space, it feels so much more potent than the actual land that it takes up. This is the financial contribution that comes out of it. Zooming into the city limits and doing the same thing, this is what happens. So basically downtown is that land area, but it feels like this in your pocketbook. So it's a 15-to-1 ratio of productivity for that one unit of land. Now be mindful, this is productivity for the whole county too. This is what it looks like in 3 dimensions. Can you all spot where downtown is? So graphically, you can see the scale and potency of what's being produced here. This is Green Hills Mall over here, by the way, on the southwest side. Now that's all great. That's property taxes. This is a side view, and you can see where downtown peaks out if we did a heart monitor on it. So you can see the pulse of Nashville. Is this all too nerdy for you guys? You guys get it? So it's trying to figure out how the financial form of things take place. Now, just kind of run through some property types. This is the Walmart at 100 Oaks. It's about $1.2 million an acre of value. These are the malls, let's say at about $2 million an acre for 100 Oaks and Opryland. Green Hills is killing it at $8 million an acre. So 4 times the potency of these malls, right? When you get into the infill buildings that they're doing, look at the values where they start at. We got 7 million, 10 million, 12 million. So just these residential typologies are more potent than the best mall that they have. You get into the Gulch, now we're up to about 16 million an acre productivity. Some buildings on the Music Road around 20 million, or let's just say almost 18 times the Walmart's productivity. And this one, of course, a tall building, you're seeing 136 million of productivity. But one of the other lessons that was interesting from Nashville is this legacy value of these old buildings. These buildings that your forefathers and foremothers have built for you, like this one here, that's on this old postcard from 1905. Look at this, there's horses and carriages here. And even though they defaced the building and ripped the top off, I don't know why somebody did that, but whatever, we'll put that aside, it's still $41 million an acre of productivity. And this building's been in the portfolio for over 100 years. Is the Green Hills Mall going to be here 100 years from now? No, these are decisions you're making for your great-grandchildren that they're going to be left with. These are the land use decisions for tomorrow. So basically, oops, sorry. Let's kind of skip these. These are kind of nerdy. The retail stuff we looked at too. And one of the things that popped out is the productivity of downtown. And this is Green Hills Mall. And these are their footprints inside the land area of the entire county. Or another way of doing it, side by side, this is the per acre productivity of downtown's retail. This is the Green Hills Mall on a per acre basis. So pound for pound, and this asset is operating with 50% of it not having retail sales. You know, you can't buy something at the state capitol building and pay retail taxes. So another way of looking at it is that little footprint of downtown that takes up 0.3% of the entire county's land area is producing that much retail sales of the county's total retail production. Did y'all get that? I'm moving kind of fast. I had like a double espresso before I got up here, so sorry about that. So this is the property tax model averaged out over a zip code. We couldn't get the retail taxes at a parcel by parcel basis. We could get it at a zip code level, so we had to flatten the model a little bit for the property taxes. But this is the retail tax production. This is Green Hills Mall here, and that's downtown. And then this is the total tax productivity of both. These same lessons that happen in Nashville happen in the smallest community that we've been to. Again, view Nashville as your great-grandfather. You know, it's got habits that you're building on today. There are lessons you can learn from Nashville, from all of this. That basically, 5.8 acres, if you just had 6 acres of this building, it would equal the entire 30-acre Green Hills Mall on a pound-for-pound basis. That's how potent this building is. Or more importantly, the infill, 21 acres of that building would equal the 123-acre Opryland Mall. Or my favorite Nashville example, I love this building, the Tequila Cowboy. The Tequila Cowboy is one of the most productive and potent buildings in all of Nashville. And there it is at 3 stories. And this is not a huge building. Yet if you had a half acre of this building, it would equal the entire property taxes of this 52-acre mall. Pound for pound, this little building is incredibly productive. And you can go to the smallest town and find that building on Main Street. Just fix it up. Did y'all get that? So how does this work inside a region? You know, we're doing a regional study in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is an 8-county metro model showing all the different 8 counties. This is the scale map of North Carolina. It's a huge land area. It's about the size of Rhode Island. And here you see downtown Charlotte popping up, and then the towns outside of Charlotte having their own little bursts out here. Zooming into Matthews, North Carolina, which is at the tail end of Mecklenburg County, and just looking at their little piece and zooming into it, this is how it looks. They have a main street that's 1 block long. 1 block. Can you tell where it is? You know, that's the potency of that part of their community. And they're now trying to find a way to cultivate more of this. Even though they have residential, that's the majority of their base, it's not as potent as that stuff. They're trying to slide more purple stuff in here and grow up their downtown. But what's interesting is, even inside their residential typologies, these townhouses that are right here are pulling $2 million an acre, or they're 2.3 times more productive than the Sam's Club, is another way of looking at it. So even with residential properties, you can still get scalable density and value from that. Another regional study we did in North Carolina is for Winston-Salem, a huge land area. This is actually the land area size of Connecticut. You have Winston-Salem, Greensboro, and then a bunch of other little towns and counties outside of that. that are in that sphere of influence. You can kind of see Winston-Salem popping up in red, and Greensboro and High Point popping up in red here. But you also see Asheboro, this tiny little town here. There's this town, Burlington, which is over here in Alamance County. And it's kind of a commuter town into Greensboro. It's outside there. And here's its tax model. Can you all tell where downtown is? So basically, 7 acres of this building would equal the entire 96-acre mall that they just built. Lexington, North Carolina, this place is actually, it's cool, but it's kind of going through some tough times, but you still see how its downtown is doing, and that this building right here, if you had 1.5 acres of this building, it would equal the entire 17-acre strip mall that they have on the edge of town. And again, these are their choices in their community and how their land use operates. Now, I show you all of this to bring you to this point, which is the kind of ghost of Christmas future moment. There are communities that we've studied that don't have as much going on as what we've seen in North Carolina. Is anybody familiar with Gwinnett County, Georgia? Yeah? Gwinnett County, Georgia asked us to do a county study down there. And here it is. This is Atlanta. And this is DeKalb County and Cobb County. And then this is Gwinnett County. So they have some towns out here. Norcross, Lawrenceville, Suwanee, Beaufort, Snellville. What's kind of fascinating, the whole time they told us, they said, look, we're not urban, we're not the city, we're Gwinnett. We're like, great, fine, we're just looking at your data. So we did their map, and the first thing became obvious. We're just like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? You know, here's their potent stuff down here in purple, and usually we see a spot. Remember the Nashville map was almost like a bullseye? And we're like looking for the bullseye, we're like, what's going on? So we turn the model sideways, and we're like, oh my God, there's no spike. Do y'all remember the spikes that you saw in the other models? And the funny thing is they kept on saying to me, look, we're rural. We're rural people, we're not city people. We're like, all right, well, let's look at your data. Here are the different counties that we had in data sets. Here's Gwinnett County. There are 1,800 people per square mile. There they are. Here's my county. I think this is what rural looks like. This is Asheville inside its county, right? 1,800 people per square mile, and when I was presenting this to the community, I said, well, look at this. You guys are 200 people per square mile denser than Mecklenburg. Do y'all know what's in Mecklenburg? Charlotte. I'm like, how the heck did you guys get 200 people denser than Charlotte? Incidentally, they're 200 people per square mile denser than Davidson County, too. Putting their data out there, we saw that they peaked out at $8 million an acre. This is the most valuable property in all of Gwinnett County. This is my county at $46 million an acre in downtown. And then here's the less dense Charlotte at $150 million an acre. So what they've actually done is they haven't cultivated any wealth into a core area. They've kind of spread it across the whole entire county evenly. So this is what we typically see. This is a county of 130,000 people, and they have the towns of Chapel Hill, Carrboro, and Hillsboro. And within each of these, you don't need a PhD in city economics to see where Main Street is. You can see the spikes, boom, boom, and boom. So by choosing different policies, they cultivated different wealth in Orange County versus Gwinnett. So here's, let's do the side view. This is Chapel Hill, Orange County, 130,000 people. This is Onondaga County, which is Syracuse, New York. We just threw a Rust Belt city in there for the heck of it. And this is Gwinnett County. 800,000 people, 400,000 people, 100,000 people. Pretty much the same county land area at 430 square miles. And then here's their pulses. So if you're a doctor looking at the pulse of these patients, what do you see? You're seeing a complete flat line here. You know, there are choices that people make outside of Syracuse to live in a suburban area, that's fine, but they've cultivated their wealth as well as Chapel Hill, but they haven't grown any community up in Gwinnett. Or just look at the downtowns and how the downtowns operate and behave. This is what you see. Now, I will give credit to Suwanee. They actually have a pretty aggressive downtown cultivation plan that they're working on trying to solve this problem. They've identified the fact that there's a market potential inside the county to build a core, and they're working on it. and they're hopefully shooting for getting spikes like that. So this is a fairly wonky presentation on taxes, but I wanted to try to find a way to graphically represent what it means to you, the data that's going on behind all of this stuff. And I want you to question what's really happening inside the market forces. That this isn't just some outside world that's making me behave a certain way as a developer. That I'm making choices based on the policies that you have, and I'm taking the path of least resistance. I'm also paying and contributing how you charge me in taxes. So at a really basic level, you're essentially taxed on value. You're not taxed on cost. So I've shown you the other side of the perspective. Well, on this side, what's true is the cheaper the building I make, the lower the taxes I pay. That's the reason why the numbers look the way they do. So I'm actually motivated to disinvest in your community, if that makes sense. So realize these policies can actually hurt you, and that they actually can cause you having financial issues. Who's paying for the infrastructure, and do I pay that cost out? Are you running the numbers to see how that works? You know, we do the models so that you can see them graphically and visually, but ultimately, the question you need to be asking yourself is, are you doing the proper math to figure out if you can financially afford the decisions you make? So anyway, that's the presentation. You guys got awfully quiet. Thanks.